The blues ain't just music, it's a reckoning. And in Ryan Coogler's Sinners, that reckoning comes with fangs. Coogler isn't just giving us monsters, he's showing us the oldest horror of all, art as a battleground. Let's start, and spoilers ahead, folks. It's October 15th, 1932 in Clarksdale, Mississippi, deep in the Jim Crow South, where every day is a fight for life if you're black. Twin brothers Smoke and Stack, both brought to life by the incredible Michael B. Jordan, rolled back into town after years away. They've been through it all, fighting in World War I, running with gangsters in Chicago under Al Capone, and now they're here with a dream. They buy an old sawmill from a shady white man named Hogwood and turn it into a juke joint, a rare safe haven where black folks can drink, dance, and forget the world outside for a night. They hire local talent, bluesman Delta Slim, grocers Grace and Bo Chow, and doorman Cornbread, building a vibrant community. They bring in their cousin Sammy, a preacher's kid, son of Jedediah, who warns him the devil will follow if he plays for drunkards, with a voice and a guitar that could wake the ancestors. Played by newcomer Miles Caton, who absolutely steals the show. That opening night starts with so much joy. Sammy's blues performance is just amazing. A symbolic vision weaving together African drummers, Afrofuturist guitarists, even Chinese dancers, as if the past, present, and future are colliding in that dusky juke joint. It's like a moment that feels alive, a celebration of everything they're fighting for. But then the air shifts. A smooth-talking Irish vampire named Remick, played with chilling charm by Jack O'Connell, shows up with his crew, drawn by the power of Sammy's music. And just like that, the night turns into a nightmare. Remick bites Mary, Stack's old flame, and she turns Stack into a vampire too. And before you can catch your breath, the vampires are tearing through the place. Delta Sim, the Chows, even Cornbread at the door, they don't stand a chance. It's a massacre, blood painting the walls. As the juke joint, that piece of freedom, becomes a war zone. Smoke and Sammy fight back with everything they've got. In the final showdown, with the sun creeping up, Smoke appears to kill Stack, then stabs Remick just as he's about to turn Sammy. And there's this moment where they're in the water. Remick holding up Sammy under, Smoke stepping in to save him. That feels like a Southern Creek baptism, washing away the sins of the night and his father's curse. The sun rises, burning Remick to ash, and for a second, you think they've made it. But the cost is heavy. Smoke, wounded and bleeding, turns to face the Ku Klux Klan. Turns out Hogwood and his crew sold them the mill just to come back and kill them. Smoke takes them out in a blaze of defiance. Sort of a final stand against the racism that's haunted them, but he doesn't make it. As he's dying, he sees Annie, his old love, and their child who did not survive. Sort of like a vision of peace that hits you right in the chest, showing he's finally free. Sammy's the only one left standing, bloodied, clutching the broken neck of his guitar. Drives to his father's church, bursting in mid-sermon. Jedediah tells him to drop the guitar, but Sammy gets back in Smoke and Stack's car, guitar in hand, driving off to start over. Now let's talk about the mid-credits scene, because it changes everything. We jump forward to 1992, Chicago. Sammy's an old man now, played by blues legend Buddy Guy. Awesome man, by the way, love his work. Running his own club, he's made it big. A living legend, but one night, two ghosts from the past walk in. It's Stack and Mary, still vampires, looking like they stepped out from a 90s hip-hop video. Stack with a high-top fade, Mary sucking on a lollipop, looking all cool. They haven't aged a single day, and Stax drops a bombshell. Smoke had spared him that night, letting him and Mary escape before the sun rose, making him promise to stay away from Sammy and let him live his life. Stack says, "I miss the real Sammy. You still got the real in you." Sammy plays for them, then admits, Maybe once a week, I wake up paralyzed, reliving that night. But before the sun went down, I think that was the best day of my life. Stack agrees. No doubt about it. For a few hours, we was free. And then in the post-credit scene, we flash back to young Sammy alone in Jedediah's church before the Juke joint night, singing This Little Light of Mine. It's a quiet, hopeful note in a story full of darkness. So what does this mean for our characters? Smoke's journey is all about breaking free. He grew under the shadow of a hateful father, believing he was destined for a life of crime, that he had no choice but to be a sinner. But seeing Sammy carve out his own path, choosing music over the church, challenged that. In the end, Smoke makes his own choice. He fights for his family, takes down Remick and faces the clan, reclaiming his free will. That moment in the water, like a baptism of fire. So symbolically, he cleansed himself of his father's legacy as he dies, and he sees Annie and their child. So the director is giving you the feeling that he's finally at peace. Stack's story breaks your heart in a different way. Becoming a vampire feels like he's turning his back on Smoke, on their bond. But that mid-credit scene shows how just deep their love runs. Smoke couldn't kill his brother, even after everything, but Stack's immortality comes at a price. In 1992, he's stuck, longing for the real blues of the past, unable to grow or change. It's a stark contrast to Smoke, who found freedom in death, and it makes you wonder what Stack's been up to all these years and what he'll do next. Then there's Sammy, the heart of this story. His music isn't just beautiful, it's a bridge between generations, a way to heal and connect. That's why Remick wanted him so badly to steal that power for himself. But Sammy survives and lived a full life, choosing mortality over vampirism. When he calls that night the best day, it's not just nostalgia. It's about the fleeting joy of freedom he felt in that Juke joint, a joy worth all the pain that followed. Sammy's resilience, his ability to keep creating, makes him the true hero here. The final act is not just about blood and survival, it's dripping with deeper meaning. The vampires, they're more than just monsters. They're a symbol of cultural stagnation, of what happens when you refuse to grow, when you exploit someone else's art, like Remick trying to steal Sammy's music, a chilling nod to how black culture has been appropriated throughout history. Sammy's performance, blending African rhythms with Afrofuturist sounds, shows the opposite. Culture that evolves, that honors its roots while reaching for the future. And that water scene with Smoke and Sammy fighting Remick, it's not just a cool visual, it's a sudden baptism, a cleansing of sin, a reclaiming of agency in a world that's always trying to take it away. The film is also a raw look at black freedom, or lack of it, in the Jim Crow South. Smoke says it best. Chicago ain't shit but Mississippi with tall buildings. He said that because racism follows them everywhere. And that Juke joint, that one space where they could be free, gets torn apart, first by vampires, then by the Klan. It's a reminder of how real-world black spaces have been attacked throughout history, from Tulsa to beyond. Now, I want to talk about the mid-credit scene and why it's brilliant. Well, the first one is a thematic payoff. Coogler basically inverts vampire lore, that immortality isn't power, it's cultural paralysis. When Stack says, "We've been following your career," this underscores how vampirism reduces art to spectacle rather than lived experience. Then there's the historical echo. Buddy Guy's casting isn't just fan service, it ties Sammy to real blues history, grounding the myth in actual black artistry. Finally, the visual contrast, the 90s hip-hop vamp aesthetic versus Sammy's weathered wisdom, screams, culture evolves, parasites don't. This scene alone transforms the vampires into walking metaphors for artistic exploitation. Sammy's Club isn't just a business, it's a sanctuary reclaimed from the predators who tried to steal its soul. Then the post-credit scene, and I want to tell you why it's awesome. It has structural poetry. The film ends where it began, Sammy in the church, but now we understand his bloodied guitar. The circle isn't closed, it's a spiral pushing forward. Then the director adds a bit of symbolic light. The title Sinners get subverted. The real sin isn't the blues. It's the systems, the vampiric, racist systems that try to extinguish the light. I don't know. Coogler maybe weaponizes the post-credits trope instead of sequel bait, but he does deliver thesis statement of sorts, which I believe is that the light you try to bury becomes the song that unearths you. Anyways, this was a review made by the Morbidly Obese Duck, and I'm just gonna waddle away now. Quack.